Welcome back to the Uncle Bob Crypto Podcast 22. I'm here with David Liebowitz, who's a business executive, writer, entrepreneur, advisor, blockchain enthusiast based in Los Angeles, California. He is a founding team member and the vice president of business development at Everipedia. Since first signing up for Everipedia in May 2016, David has been responsible for authoring thousands of pages that have received millions of views. Today, David primarily works in business development. He's given talks about Everipedia and blockchain to a number of audiences, ranging from UCLA students, Harvard University alumni, and family offices in New York. Everipedia is a Wikipedia-based online encyclopedia. It was founded in December 2014. The site was launched in January 15 as a fork of Wikipedia. It is owned by Everipedia Inc., a for-profit company headquartered in Westwood, Los Angeles, California. The site's name is a portmanteau of words, everything and encyclopedia. Everipedia aims to be the most accessible online encyclopedia and not to be as restrictive as Wikipedia. Everipedia adopted social media elements such as letting celebrities communicate with fans, and allows users to create pages on any topic as long as the content is cited and neutral. Okay, and we'll leave it there. Oh, the company uses EOS blockchain technology and a cryptocurrency called IQ to encourage content creation and to stop certain countries from blocking its content. Thank you very much, David.
Thank you. We're actually based in Santa Monica now. We moved out of our Westwood offices and moved to Santa Monica 2 years ago.
Evil Wikipedia, see? They don't want you to they don't want you to succeed.
I don't even... No, I'm a big fan of Wikipedia. Yeah, I love Wikipedia still. I just think, in this world of new things are always evolving, and we're kind of on this new way to record, distribute knowledge. Like Wikipedia, they were cool and they still are cool. Like we're covering the main topics about George Washington or about countries. They really did the crowdsourcing thing right. But this is what we're doing at Everipedia is we're trying something new. We're just you know what? There's a lot of content that Wikipedia misses, and we've heard a lot of problems within their editor community. How can we make a better knowledge base for people to use and for people to contribute to? So I'm going to give you a little bit of a history lesson.
Cool.
I always like going into this. So early on in Wikipedia's history, the first 10 years, there was a battle between the inclusionists and the deletionists editor camps at Wikipedia. So the inclusionists, they believe everything can have a page. If it's a stub, it can be improved on. They wanted content for everything on the internet. But then you have the deletionists that are no, we need to have standards, we need to have rules, we need to have this or that. And around 2010, 2011, that's when the deletionist camp won out. And you saw just really a plateau and articles created. You saw a plateau in editors contributing. And it kind of just like I said, it just plateaued. So that inclusionist camp, that spirit is really why Everipedia was created in 2015. It was built in a dorm room in UCLA, and it's been a crazy ride since. I personally got on in 2016. I remember seeing it on Facebook, and I'm just oh my god, this is really cool. I've thought of this before. I was just a student in college, and there's so many things. I'm really into music, and I would always search for music artists, and sometimes I search for their Wikipedia page, but they wouldn't have one. So I'm just when I saw Everipedia, it just made sense to me. And I was just a fan of it early on. And then around when I graduated college, I somebody was hey, I'm looking for interns, hit me up. And so I hit the person up, and I just started making pages, and I was just wow, this is my path. It's either I'm gonna join Everipedia or I'm just gonna live in mediocrity. It was really
wow.
I literally set a fire under my ass to really work here. I remember I was I just graduated college. I was lucky to work for my uncle at his he was like a vice president at like a trade magazine, and I would wake up early in the morning, make Everipedia pages before work, try to get like current events, people in the news. I would go to like my work, make pages at work. I wouldn't like, there really wasn't that much for me to do. So, and then I just like kind of like taught myself how to like get hits and traffic to the site, because that's what mattered at the time. And eventually, like a few months later, so I started that in May 2016. God, I can't believe it's been 4 years. And then in July, they invited me to like move to LA and live in an apartment full time. I work there full time, and all they promised me was like, okay, we'll give you food, we'll give you rent, we'll give you like the gym membership at UCLA, but that's it. Like, you kind of have like a path to like here at Everipedia. Like but like this is what you're gonna get right now, and I'm just like, let's go. Like I literally like brought my plane ticket. Like it didn't take me much thought for like September, and then to 2016, and then I told my parents like, hey, I'm by the way, I'm actually like moving to California, and they knew I was doing stuff for Everipedia, but they're like, you're doing what? You didn't talk about this with us. And then like I was telling a bunch of people in my hometown in New Jersey about it, and like people were supportive, but like people are definitely skeptical when you like take the path less followed. Society. I think I'm gonna get into this more later, but society kind of expects like a certain path from you. And like if somebody deviates off the path, it's kind of like a bunch of antibodies attacking. Like, wait, you're doing what? Like you're not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And so like I knew like I was just said like, okay, worst that can happen is like, okay, like it doesn't work out, and I just moved back to New Jersey. But bought a one-way plane ticket, moved to Westwood. We lived in this apartment. It was 4 bedrooms. It must have been like at any time there was like 6 to 9 people in there. And like, I lived in a bunk bed for 2 years. Like, and all I did was just like make wikis. Trying to find either current events or like we like to call them evergreen pages. So pages that would just get traffic over time. So I made a lot of pages for YouTubers, influencers. I think I probably made or edited like I don't know, like over 5,000 pages. Like I have no idea. But I was just like, writing, and like I really, before that, I was writing a lot. In college, I went to UMass Amherst, go Minutemen. I like started I had a blog there called Frequency of the Unknown, where I like really like to talk about like personal stuff, kind of my views on philosophy and politics and whatnot. And that really gave me the basis for like writing on Everipedia, because it was the first time I was really like distributing my content on the internet. And like with Everipedia, like I basically had this platform in Everipedia to like make these like neutral wikis, and it was really cool because these wikis are like living documents, and you're kind of like, I felt like I was like a historian or like a scribe in a way, and I was just like in this world of fake news, I was like trying to document from like the most neutral perspective possible. So like I kind of had the mindset that like, oh, if like people look back on this, or historians look back on this in like hundreds of years, I want them to use what I write as a reliable source. And it's really funny because I would be writing like such serious pages about like such pop culture funny things. And so I would like to compare it to, how like when jazz first started getting popular in the early 20th century, it wasn't taken seriously at all by like traditional music. It was kind of viewed as like this ragtag, like kind of collective of people like doing improv, like really pushing the bounds of music. And like it wasn't considered professional by any means. But then in 100 years, now people study jazz in college. Like now it's like an art form. Now it's like a proper art form respected by academia. So I kind of view the same thing with like stuff in like coming up in like, I call Everipedia the wiki and up and coming wiki of topics up and coming in culture. Like it's these things that aren't really taken seriously now, but like they will be, not even in 100 years, probably in like 5-10 years. So I was editing there for like, I was an executive editor for a few years, and then, then we made the foray into crypto, which was quite an interesting path. So what happened with that, we kind of got connected with the right people. We built, a very respectable product. We have a lot of potential and still do. I feel like I'm more excited about Everipedia now and what we're doing with like Everipedia, Predikt, and everything now more than ever. But at the time, we ended up raising $30 million from Galaxy Digital. We and then we moved Everipedia from being just like a normal website, because before, when I joined Everipedia, I had no interest in crypto. I had no idea, like what was like. I mean, I remember first hearing of Bitcoin in 2010 when like WikiLeaks started taking donations from them, and then I like remember like there was this one point when I was like a junior in high school. I was working as a busboy at a country club, and I saved up all this money. And I'll never forget, I was thinking like, shit, I had a choice to either buy silver or buy Bitcoin, and I just couldn't wrap my head around Bitcoin. It was sketchy and like whatnot, and like at the time, no one had any idea what it was, so I bought silver. So that was one of my what if moments of like, oh, what if I bought? But honestly, like everything like happens for a reason. The universe tends to unfold as it should. So we raised 30 million from Galaxy Digital, and then we, in February, March, I forget when, and then in July of 2018, we moved Everipedia to the blockchain, and for almost 2 years now, we've had a community of editors all around the world, earning IQ tokens and being part of this IQ token economy on the Everipedia platform. And really, what the IQ token is I view it as like the foundation of a knowledge economy that's gonna power a family of decentralized applications. So the dApp that we released next that I'm really excited about is called Predikt, which is we like to call it a knowledge market, and people can put basically wage on future events. So people can and what's unique about Predikt is that they can actually make the markets. I don't know if there's any other platform where you can like actually like make the market. So for example, a few weeks ago, I made a market like, will Tesla be in the S&P 500 by the end of August? And so now people are like actually like I think that's a pretty cool market, just because how popular Tesla is. Elon's a meme, and people have been interacting with the market. We have a ton of other markets, such as COVID markets, like will there be a certain number of patients? We have one. Will Elizabeth Warren be the nominee? And that's actually looking more and more likely, as you like see in the press. So it's really cool what we're doing. It's been quite a journey, to say the least. And I went from being an executive editor, and then I feel like as Everipedia grew, I grew along with it professionally. And I eventually was doing partnership stuff, and then my responsibilities went from partnerships to partnerships and exchanges. So I handled a lot of like exchanges and token related responsibilities. And now I'm doing those two things, partnerships, exchanges, and now I'm in charge of PR, and I'm in charge like of Everipedia public relations. Hence, like one of the big reasons why I'm here today, and I appreciate you having me here.
No, thanks. Wow, so much.
Yeah,
so much. I feel like my IQ has already gone up. Right. So there was so much there.
Yeah.
A knowledge market. So when you're saying you can make the market, try and break that down and make it really simple for a layperson to understand. And what makes it valuable?
So no, let's say you want to. We'll do a simple one. Will Donald Trump be re-elected president? Yes or no? So what you do is you attain IQ tokens, which is really easy. We're available on Bitfinex, we're available on Upbit, we're available on a few decentralized exchanges, and then I think it costs like a certain amount of IQ. So I think right now it's 2,500 IQ. So you go onto Predikt, you go to create market, you follow the directions to process, and then you pay the IQ, and that IQ is then burned. So and then the market is made, and you actually get a fee as the market creator. You actually get a fee for like all the trades that happen on the market. So there's an incentive there for you to make markets. There's actually also a referral fee for you to share the market. So that gives more people an incentive to share it around with their friends or on social media. Mm-hmm. And then people can just go in and say like, oh, there's like a 30% chance that this will be a yes, or like there's a 70% chance this will be a no. So I think it's really cool. The layout's super nice. It's really nice on mobile too. We actually just recently have a partnership with Token Pocket, which is one of the largest wallets, multi-chain wallets and dApp portals in Asia. And so it's available on mobile too. They have a super nice mobile interface, like not just for being a blockchain product, just being like nice overall. Like I like using it more than the desktop version, and it's really cool novel concept. I think like the next, it's really targeted towards blockchain users right now and really EOS users because you need an EOS account. But in the future, we plan on getting more of the masses and making it easier for anybody, even if they have an EOS account or not, to participate in Predikt and make markets and participate in these knowledge markets. Because I think it goes along with Everipedia's mission. Will something happen? And if something does happen, like it has to be documented anyways. So and we're doing a lot of stuff to integrate Predikt and Everipedia together, such as you can see Everipedia pages on Predikt markets that have to do with the market. So like on the Tesla market, I mentioned like the Everipedia page for Tesla can be there. And then on the Everipedia page for Tesla, we plan on like having the prediction market for the Tesla market that I mentioned there. So we want to integrate them more in the future. And yeah, like I said, we're trying to build
the
like
tokenization of everything, isn't it? The digitization of everything. It's interesting. What was your thoughts on Reddit making or tokenizing?
I think it's really cool. I was actually reading about that, and actually, it's not the cryptocurrency community that's the most popular user of those Ethereum tokens. It's the Fortnite community.
Gaming,
the gaming, and I think that says a lot. I think it's great. I love seeing adoption like that, and I'm blockchain agnostic. I'm not tribal in any way. I think like every quality blockchain has something to offer, and you can't argue against the network effects of Ethereum and how much people are enthusiastic about Ethereum right now. So from what I read, right now those tokens on the Rinkeby testnet, and they aren't actually like tokens; they're really more just like community points and whatnot. So it's really more of a test, but I think it's a huge breakthrough.
It's huge breakthroughs all around. More and more, we're beginning to see blockchain tech, or at least Bitcoin. Even it's becoming more. It's becoming embraced by the mainstream, especially since COVID-19. Go on. Sorry.
Did you hear about Wax and the NFTs?
I did. Yeah, but they get the garbage pail cards.
The garbage pail kids. Yeah. So they sold out of garbage pail kids in 28 hours, and now unopened. I think like there's one unopened card that sold for like $1,500 worth of Wax tokens, and I think this is probably some of the biggest developments happening in crypto because you have non-crypto users signing up and trading these cards. Which is, I think that's what like the whole goal of blockchain is like to slowly get the masses more and more into crypto and blockchain. And see, I view our goal at Everipedia is make sure that people don't even realize that they're using a blockchain product, especially if you're visiting the site. Like we show up on Google, people visit our site every day. We have over millions of unique visitors every month. And they don't even realize we're a blockchain product. They're just getting information. And, I think that's what it's really all about, like focusing on like making a good product, and it just happens to have blockchain.
It's going back to how you got into it, actually, it was interesting what you said, that you were working before work and after work and during work. I'll be honest with you, I do something completely different during the day. And I do this around my time, and it's not a chore. I think if it's never a chore, then you are on the right path. So it was interesting that you broke through all those kind of antibodies, as you said, and it does work like that way. Even what I'm doing now, I have people around me going, "What are you doing?" But at the same time, it's like I feel like no, this feels right. This feels right. Like,
if you have like a strong feel, like when I was like first work like doing like contributing to Everipedia, I just had like the strongest like feeling in like the pit of my gut that this is like the path I should take, and like nothing was like, it was so clear and obvious to me that I am not a morning person by any means. Like I like to sleep in, and so the fact that I was like waking up extra early to like make these pages just to like try to like do whatever I can to join Everipedia. It wasn't like there was a job ad out there like they were like looking to hire people. Like no, they wanted like I just happened to become a power user, and they wanted me to like bring me on. And
it must make you actually more intelligent. I can only, in the same way, me writing an article about crypto keeps me abreast of what's going on. So that's the only reason. I mean, I very much in a rudimentary kind of way, I write.
I really like your blog. It's really detailed. You do a really good job of it. It's a lot of work.
I just basically try and rewrite and not make it look like I plagiarized the bloody article. But the thing is that it keeps me abreast of what's going on. Yeah, your knowledge base must be incredible now.
Yeah, when I was an editor from like 2016 to 2018, I like knew everything that that was up and coming in culture, from like from like music to like politics, like you name it. Like I was like, so it was weird because like I wouldn't have been interested in it if I wasn't at Everipedia and I didn't have to write about it. So I just have like this deep knowledge about random subjects ranging from, you know, like from like I consider myself an expert in SoundCloud rappers from 2014 to 2018. Yeah, but it's you know, it was a lot of it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of work, honestly. Like, you know, I was just writing all the time, but you know, it was just I wouldn't. It was an experience I wouldn't take back for anything. And like I felt like I was paying my dues, and it made everything else so much more worth it. In the end, like going from a top bunk bed to moving into my own room in my own apartment, like I'm still like jaw dropped. I am so very thankful for it.
Well, you're following your path. It's the true path. It leads me on to my next question. You talked about fake news, and you mentioned the truth. How you say you're blockchain agnostic? How do you remain agnostic when you're writing an Everipedia page? How do you remain unbiased?
When I say blockchain agnostic, I'm not talking about Everipedia. I'm just talking about how.
Oh no, of course not. But I mean, in the way, in I guess, if you're writing a page for Everipedia, how do you remain unbiased or?
Yeah, because like there's you know, humans are reality is subjective and we're biased creatures. So I think it's important. A lot of people view all these encyclopedias as the arbiter of truth because we want simple ways to explain the world, but that's honestly just not the case. Whether it's Everipedia or Wikipedia or even Encyclopedia Britannica, the point of these encyclopedia entries is to give you context on a subject. It's not supposed to give you the truth, it's supposed to give you context on a subject. And then, as I mentioned earlier, these Everipedia pages are living documents, so they're always changing. So in order to be the best, you know, writer, I think it's just to like have that mindset, like, okay, I'm providing context. Like, you know, you can do simple things like try not to add adjectives, try not to try not to lean too much to one side, or like give both sides of the story. You're never going to be like perfectly objective, but you can like it's kind of like you can reach towards that ideal as much as possible, and that's what I did when I wrote all my Everipedia pages.
As you're growing in life and getting older, are you finding that that through Everipedia you're getting new interests piqued, new sub-genres and genres that you become intimately connected to?
Yeah, actually, like I mentioned before, like I was really into music, and like when I started editing into Everipedia, that's when I really started getting into like electronic music, EDM, dubstep, just bunch of
There's a
artists.
story about the festival. There's a festival that you went to.
Yeah, I love the story. So, you know, so I was going to Electric Forest in the summer of 2017, and I wanted to do something that could like integrate my work into it. So I decided to. I don't know how, there must have been like 100 people on that lineup, but I decided to make an Everipedia page for every single person that was playing at the festival, and then also improve the Wikipedia pages of everyone that was playing. So for like months, I was like making pages. I would listen to the music, even if like I wasn't like originally a fan of it. I would just listen to the music of every artist. And at Electric Forest, you have like, you know, EDM, but you also have like a lot of jam bands and like even like a lot of like there's like even like more like regular bands and stuff. You even have one guy, I forget his name, but he has like a violin and like he plays like an electric violin in a loop. It's really cool. But like, yeah, I spent my time just like making those pages, you know, reaching out to artists. A lot of them actually responded to me on Twitter. And what's cool, and I eventually, when I finished, I like found a website to be like, hey, I made this like list, like let me write an article about like the top 5 artists like playing up and coming artists at the festival. And so I actually wrote an article in like one of these EDM websites. And then the coolest part is when I went to the festival, I could literally have a conversation with anyone about any artist that was playing, which is really cool.
Really,
so rewarding. Yeah. So like I would like be like, well, you know, I'm a very
like a super fan.
I was like,
every
oh yeah, I
gig.
know that. I truly knew about every artist. It was like the best education, and then I could ask. And then like even at the festival, like I would like talk to artists and like, hey, I'm the guy that made this, or show them like my phone, and they'd be like, you're the guy. I remember these
Wow.
Australian dudes. You're like, you're the guy that made it. Oh my god, it was so cool. Like it was such a rewarding experience. Like I like to call it. And on that note, I like to call Everpedia like the best networking tool that hasn't been utilized yet. Because if just take what I apply to music and wanting to meet artists. Imagine if you're like a student wanting to like work at a company, and or there's someone you look up to. You can just make the Everpedia page, learn about their story, and then hey, like I made this Everpedia page for you. Like I think you're really inspiring. I have like a few questions. I think it's like I'm surprised a lot more people don't use it. I still do that when I want to meet people on the
Absolutely.
web.
It's the first
It's
thing
like
when you spoke about it, when I started finding out about it through you,
yeah,
I thought, why haven't I heard about this before? Why haven't I seen this company before? And they've been around for like a year and a half, longer,
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
5 years. Yeah, yeah. No, we got to make the Uncle Bob Crypto Everpedia page.
Let's do it. Why not?
Yeah, yeah, we can talk more. Yeah, if you want to like and get like what feel for what the platform is like I can like connect you to our community, and we have a really vibrant community of like people from all over the world, from America to Venezuela to South Korea to Nigeria, like to Eastern Europe, like everywhere. Like it's so like I love just like going to the Everpedia chat and seeing everybody on
Yeah.
Telegram, seeing like all the pages being shared. I have to give a shout out to our editorial director Navin, and our team members Ewok and Christian. They've been doing a really great job, like being shepherds to our community across languages. Um, you
Must be
know,
so interesting working with I mean, you all must be
yeah.
just complete geniuses. By now, like your IQ level. I mean, what is the highest? What is it?
I'm not the genius. I'm just like a social person. I just like I'm really good at like connecting people and connecting things. Like the
Well,
real genius. So like our founders, like Sam, like
yeah.
that
Are
dude.
you Ashkenazi?
Yes, I am.
Right. Isn't it the fact that they have the highest IQ in the world?
As a group, yeah. I guess I don't. I mean,
You're in the
but
right place.
I think the thing is, I like looked into that a good amount just because I'm curious. Like
Yeah.
the reason behind that is because for like thousands or hundreds, if not thousands of years, when the Ashkenazi Jews were in Eastern Europe, it was the men who would study the Talmud all day and like study the Torah and like study it all day and argue about it. And what is the Torah basically? What is the Talmud? It's basically a law book. And so they would like, would have to like figure out like arguments or like certain why things are, why things certain are like why things should be this way, why things shouldn't be this way. And the Talmud is just a commentary on the Bible. So you have this like centuries long commentary of like of different passages in the Torah. And so if you have generations of men just like studying the Torah over and
Mm.
over again, and education being a higher ideal, and that being kind of like a view of like being a high standing member of the community, then by evolution's sake, like it was going to be those people that reproduce. Um, so it was basically like, from my understanding, like the men study and the women work. And so I think that's why Jews are the way that it's a very practical explanation. They just studied for centuries, generation after generation. It's not really rocket science.
Well, to kind of not necessarily switch tracks, but yeah, to move over to maybe your private things you're privately
Yeah,
interested in.
my
Um,
personal interest.
yeah, you talk about writing. This comes from one of your talks. Writing was an evolutionary leap for the storage of language because it allowed for the first time ideas to be stored offline. In the 1500s, Martin Luther and his printing press transformed Europe by being able to spread information that could be comprehended by common people at a mass scale. The printing press did not only make knowledge accessible to more people, but it stamped a lasting cultural imprint that we still feel to this day. In the printing press, books were published in a proto-assembly line and put together in a linear fashion. This mechanical process laid the groundwork for more advanced production techniques that will be found throughout the Industrial Revolution. I look at that and I think we're living in a time similar to that, with the digitization of information and the decentralization of information through the internet.
I feel like we're actually growing out of that printing press mechanism. So let me bring more context to that. So, writing, for thousands of years, humans had an oral tradition, and things only started to be, written down on clay tablets, just to start keeping records of trade in the Mediterranean or in China or whatnot. And then when people started writing ideas down, that was a huge evolutionary leap in like the storage of information, because now you could have someone hundreds of years in the future read something from hundreds of years in the past and get a more direct testimony of an event or or something or about a subject. When that happened, like it completely changed everything. At the time, you had people upset about it. They're like, "Oh, like why are you writing? You should just memorize everything in your head. It's cheating." It's not so much different when people argue like, "Oh, you can just find everything on Google. You're cheating." It's like we're basically like taking our mind or like mind storage capacity and taking it from our heads into these either clay tablets thousands of years ago or in books like hundreds of years ago or online today. I feel like and I mentioned, so that part about the printing press, I took that from Terence McKenna. The talk was about he kind of like
Terence
his view on how
Yep.
language creates, reality. And with the printing press, there's a beginning and end. There's you take all these raw materials, you take paper, you take wood, you take whatever, you take ink, and you put all these like separate things together to create a book. There's, you have to, it's a whole process to build it. It's very mechanical. It's like very linear, and books themselves are linear. There's a beginning and there's an end, and there's a lot of steps along in the process. And that really gave a precursor to the whole Industrial Revolution and assembly line. Like in factories, there's like steps along in the process. Instead of producing books, taking these raw materials, you're producing textiles, you're producing machines, you're producing a whole lot more things. And then now I think we're kind of reaching the end of that age, actually, because now we actually are going to completely cut out all like the linear stuff in between, and everything's going to be a lot more direct and fast and like faster and on demand. And we've seen that in our digital age. Now, instead of like going through this whole process to like produce and publish a pamphlet or whatever, you can just start a blog and just write what you want and post it directly on there. So it's a lot more of a distributed publishing mechanism. It's a lot more decentralized, and it really impacts.
I guess the point I was trying to make was that the printing press was a revolutionary step forward in the way information was disseminated. It allowed people from all over the world to learn the Bible, for example. And you had people being burnt at the stake for trying to read, interpret the Bible into their own languages. And through that, it allowed people to kind of educate themselves to earn their own IQ points, so to speak. And now we're living in a time through the internet where information is becoming and it's an explosion of decentralization that's happening through the net. And it's quite, I don't know, what exciting times we are living in.
Yeah, anybody from anywhere in the world can learn about a subject. Whether they want to learn how to code, they can just watch some YouTube videos. Whether they want to learn about like history, they can like go take a free online course. Like it's a lot more empowering to the individual, and it's really disruptive to the institutions that be. Like I was reading like a lot of colleges are going to be online in the fall, and like why would somebody pay $60,000 a year for Zoom classes when they can just do the same thing for practically nothing online? And when people go to college, they aren't really paying for the education anymore. I feel like, the education is important, and you're really paying for the certification and the experience, the whole, the whole camaraderie, the whole socialization. I think like college is very important to me in those respects, and probably the most important to me in those respects. Just like learning how to like finding myself and learning how to like talk to people and be socialized. Although like I did get a lot of my education, I was writing papers constantly, which was like my precursor to my blogs and Everipedia and whatnot.
What's your views on COVID?
My views on COVID?
Not actually whether or not it's true or a hoax. Just
oh no, I think it's
for
it's
humanity.
really a stress test for a lot of governments and humanity in the world. Like, so many things had to like screw up for us to get to this point. So many different institutions, both government wise, in medicine, in journalism, so many things had to fail for us to like get to this point where you have to lock down the country. And it's like, it really just shows how, I'm a big reader of Machiavelli. And one of my favorite things that he like talks about is not in the Prince, it's actually in the discourses, and he talks about government decaying, and he compares like government to being a body, and like over time the body becomes corrupt. It gets old. It kind of like falls apart. It gets a cancer, and eventually like the cancer seeds itself. Kind of just like eats the body. And so I think the COVID is really a stress test and showing like the inadequacies in the American government and American responses. And like, we should have the testing capacity. We should have, the ventilators, and it shows how vulnerable our supply chains are, and like how they're actually for the sake of national security, like really important to have here. Like, why are we producing all these essential medical supplies in China? Like, now, like, it's exposing a lot of that. I think the response to COVID, like, in my opinion, like the lockdown was necessary at first because, you have to have enough tests, and you have to have enough ventilators, you have to have enough hospital beds. Okay, fine. Over the past 2 months, we've gotten that capacity. We've been producing a lot more ventilators. I think, and now it's been 2 months, and I live in Los Angeles, and now they're saying like the lockdown that they want to last it till July or indefinitely. I completely disagree with that. I think they should have a very limited opening, of the economy. Have everyone wear masks. Have stores at like not at full capacity, like practice social distancing, don't have live events right now. But you can't, like, it's one thing, okay, you can do a lockdown for a little bit, but it's like it's like you're holding the breath of a person and they're losing brain cells. That's what's basically happening to the American economy right now. And so I think it's time to open up definitely in a limited capacity. Like, people are like, so many people's livelihoods have been absolutely wrecked. And like, I mean, I'm fortunate to like work in a position where I don't like I can be remote. My job isn't really like affected. I mean, everybody's affected by COVID, but not as much as other people. And like, a lot of people are in my position, but I'm a very empathetic person. And like, I know that like, there's somebody out there that like lost his job or is like, working. Or like not working, or like, or like has a business and the business had to close up. Like, they're livid. They would rather just like work and like get COVID than like be broke and like be forced to close down. So like, I think, it's time to do like a limited opening at this point. In every, I feel like every country, not only every country, but every state is like an experiment, like which policies are working, which ones aren't. Like, Sweden, for example, they had the hospital capacity to like to keep the economy open on a limited basis. So like, they never actually had a lockdown, and that's because they had a proper healthcare system with enough beds and ventilators and stuff. So I think every country is different. You have life in Hong Kong and a lot of Asian cities pretty much like returning to normal with like certain guidelines and stuff. But you can't keep the economy locked down forever. Like, I can't imagine. It's only been like 2 months. Like, the Great Depression took years to span out, and like, we're not really going to feel the real effects of this until, especially here in America, until like months down the line when people's unemployment's run out and stuff. And I think another interesting effect is like how much like e-commerce has grown, and like we were so concerned about like is Amazon a monopoly? Does it have too much power? Like, and now you close all the small businesses, all the brick and mortar shops. Everyone's shopping online now, and Amazon has like seen such an increase in use that like they have to like develop tools to slow people down, like, because people are buying too much and just like it was too overwhelming for their supply chain.
Are you noticing any trends through Everipedia that didn't exist before through as you say, the e-learning, things like that, or shopping online?
Yeah.
Going up?
I feel like people are looking for something to do, so we've seen like more interest in like people wanting to edit and stuff. That's one thing I've noticed. I feel like quarantine is like a time for inner exploration. Like before quarantine, I was a very social person. I loved, going out, seeing friends, going to shows. Like I considered myself like a kind of a patron of the arts, but like the arts as in going to raves and stuff. But like now I can't do that. And so like I've kind of been like looking like inward, and I've been pursuing other things. Like, if you follow me on Instagram, at like once a week or a few times a week, I'll like do like a DJ. I just started DJing, and I can do like a DJ.
What are you DJing?
I like DJing house.
What kind of house?
love dubstep. What kind of house? Kind of like there's this one channel.
Deep.
Wait, what?
Progressive house, deep house.
Yeah, like all that progressive house deep. There's this one channel on YouTube called Selected, and I just like find songs on there and then just DJ those songs. And so like that's one thing I've been doing for fun. I've been focusing a lot more on writing. Like I've been wanting to write again for like so long, and really never had the motivation or energy to, because I was just going out a lot and which is fine. But like now, since I'm in quarantine, I'm just like, you know what? I'm gonna put my head down. I'm gonna write.
What do you want to write?
I did the Terrence McKenna stuff. So with Terrence McKenna, like this is how we met. Like I've been listening to him for like 6 years. A friend of mine introduced me to him, and like been listening to him on and off since then. I'm very familiar with him, and when I saw the chance to speak at the Global On Conference, I know, kind of just dawned on me that I should like talk about like what McKenna's ideas and give my take on them. And so that's how the transcendental object at the end of time came about.
What is the transcendental object at the end of time? I still don't quite understand.
The transcendental object, the transcendental object at the end of time is like, I view it kind of like the ultimate destination of like life and consciousness itself. So like the universe has been in this current dimension has been, going forward towards like a certain point and has been building towards like something. And I like to, in the talk, I talk about like there are transcendental checkpoints along the way. And so, the Big Bang happened, Earth, the universe was very hot to begin with, blah, blah, blah. Earth formed, blah, blah, blah. And like life came about, blah, blah, blah. And so you can say like life, however it got here, like when life started like to be here at Earth, that was like one transcendental checkpoint crossed. And it like when I say checkpoint, things don't stop at a transcendental checkpoint. They like blast through it. And so I think the best metaphor for the transcendental object or transcendental checkpoint is the amphibian. So like like frogs and toads, because they start off in water. They start off as like water-based creatures, with gills, and then they literally transform and mature over time into a more complex form, into land creatures that breathe and can go on land. And they literally like, in a way, they go to a different dimension that like they previously didn't know that existed. They were just water-based creatures, and they're like, they put their heads up like, wait, what? Like there's the whole world above us. And I feel like we're going through the kind of the same thing as humanity in a way. We're kind of like, instead of poking our heads above the water, and there's air, we're kind of poking our heads into cyberspace.
So do you see this whole thing that's going on now almost like a paradigm shift, an evolutionary step in consciousness?
With the internet, yeah, I mean, with the way that we're connected, yeah, like
even through COVID-19, it's almost like it's catalyzing the whole process, speeding it up.
Oh, absolutely, because now like everybody's online so much more because they like have to be, and like it's really interesting because how everybody's on like home on their computers like all the time now. Like that was basically my life 2 years ago when I was at when I was in Everipedia. Like I was just like on my computer, just finding Everipedia pages, interacting with people online, and now like everyone's doing that. And it's cool now that we have like Zoom and we have all these different technologies for us to connect, and we can have this podcast like this.
Yeah, well, look, it's been a pleasure having you on. We found out, where can we find out more about Everipedia?
Yeah, so go Everipedia.org. I encourage you to sign up. Join our Telegram at Everipedia. Follow us on Twitter at Everipedia, Instagram Everipedia official.
And where can we find you?
You can find me on Twitter at Dave said that _ on Instagram Dave doing things _
and Medium as well.
Medium on Dave Liebowitz.
I've got to say, everybody out there, this guy, he's a great writer, and yeah, I wouldn't surprise me in 10, 15 years if he's published and, you know, world famous.
Thank you.
Last thing is that you mentioned Bill Hicks. I love Bill Hicks. I grew up with him. And so I'm going to close with Bill Hicks's speech. The world is like a ride in an amusement park. And when you go on it, you think it's real because that's how powerful our minds are. The ride goes up and down and round and round. There's thrills and chills. And it's very brightly colored. And it is very loud and it's fun for a while. Some people have been on the ride for a long time and they begin to question, is this real or is this just a ride? And other people have remembered and they come back to us and say, hey, don't worry, don't be afraid ever because this is just a ride. And we kill those people. Haha, shut him up. We have a lot invested in this ride. Shut him up. Look at my furrows of worry. Look at my big bank account and my family. This has to be real. It's just a ride. But we always kill those good guys who try and tell us that. You ever notice that? And that the demons run amok. But it doesn't matter because it's just a ride and we can change it anytime we want. It's only a choice. No effort, no work, no job, no savings, and money. A choice right now between fear and love. The eyes of fear want you to put bigger locks on your doors. Buy guns, close yourself off. The eyes of love instead see us all as one. Here's what we can do to change the world right now to a better ride. Take all that money we spend on weapons and defense each year and instead spending on feeding and clothing and educating the poor of the world, which it would many times over, not one human being excluded, and we can explore space together, both inner and outer, forever in peace.
Thank you. If you want to see that
talk, a round of applause from me.
Thank you. Thank you. If you want to see my talk about the transcendental object, it's called Revisiting McKenna's Transcendental Object at the End of Time. It's on YouTube. It's on my Medium.
I'll put a link to it underneath.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Perfect.
Well, thanks, David.
Thank you for having me.
Speak again soon.
It's been a pleasure.
Bye-bye.